Welcome to week 2 in Comp 3077. This is your virtual professor, the voice in the videos, Mr. Mike Sloan from the Lawrence Kinlan School of Business. Welcome to all of my students across our many programs in the Kinlan School and also our continuing education students. Let's get cracking on week 2. So this is a required video, and we're going to talk about something I was getting into at the end of the course introduction. Something that came up in YouTube about a year and a half ago, and it can be very useful for lecture style videos where people may not need to see the whole thing. So I'll show you how I've divided our first video in the virtual classroom actually up into chapters, and I'm going to be doing that with all of them very soon after I post them. And then we're going to get into the full week 2 case demonstration. As explained in all the information you went through in week 1, you will get a comprehensive demonstration of every step on every SAM case file that you have to complete that will demonstrate to you how to get 100%. So you do want to make use of these videos. The week 2 case is all about formatting. And a couple quick reminders, always be saving your file. And if you always remember to be closing your file, I know that's bad grammar. It's just a catchy way I do that, okay? If you always remember to be closing your file, it will save automatically. And then reminder that you can get 1% extra credit by showing that you've already purchased your SAM Keycode before the end of week 2. I did want to mention something about that I neglected to mention in week 1. If you've already taken this course and you purchased the SAM Keycode in the previous semester, this would be fall 2022 or later, because that's the version of this course these videos are for. You can still get the 1% extra credit. You just need to write a little note, or maybe you still have the email and you could do a screen print of it. Which brings me to another reminder that if you were in this course before and it was prior to fall 2022, you do need to buy the Keycode again. Most of you end up passing this course, especially with the resources that are available. And most of you are probably brand new in the course and haven't purchased it before. So that's a reminder to get it by the end of week 2, or SAM will cut off your free access. And then finally, week 2 is the start of SAM quizzes. So we will no longer take quizzes on FOL. That was just in week 1. That was one quiz. All your quizzes now will be done on SAM. Pretty much everything for the entire rest of the semester, except this 1% extra credit in the FOL submission box. And the custom case in week 13 will all be done on SAM. So we're not going to jump right over to SAM, though. I always like to start you guys in FOL. So I did want to remind you again that in many, many places in FOL, I have the evaluations listed out when they're due every week. Unless your professor is doing something unique or custom, everything is due on Sunday, I should say, at 11:59 p.m. Following the week it was assigned. So we're in week 2 now, which means whatever day you're watching this, hopefully it's in week 2, and you will then complete your work by Sunday night. So these lists are all over the place. I'm currently in the one that is sitting below the weekly modules. There's another one in getting started. You can refer to, come on, pick it up. You can refer to the checklist under resources, and that will give you the list as well. And there's all the stuff we covered last week. Make sure if you're just getting into the course now and you want to know how to set up your SAM account and get everything running, you go back through all the material from last week, and the videos do a great job of walking you through that. We are now in week 2, which means every week you want to get into this habit of going into FOL, going to the weekly module, and just checking out what we're doing that week. So the week 2 information and resources file, instructions and resources, will give you a list of the topics that we are covering in the case, which are right here. So lots of good stuff in here. Probably stuff a lot of you have done, especially if you've taken that basic course where it covers several different Microsoft apps, or you used Excel a bit in high school. But I still bet, just like last week, even though this is a beginner level case, you're going to learn things that you've never done before. And then by week 3, we're going to be getting into the intermediate stuff. We'll be getting into advanced stuff by week 5, so on and so on. So I'll always link you to the virtual classroom, which you obviously have found if you're watching this video. This is what we're covering each week. Little description on the 1% extra credit. And a little bit of a tip if you're on an older operating system on a Mac, but still not a compatibility issue. And then a reminder to update your language settings to English United States if you are working at home and you aren't on those language settings. just to make sure that everything's good and compatible, even though I think I've picked a set of cases for this version of Comp 3077 that don't have any compatibility issues when it comes to language, but it's still a good idea. It's a best habit to get into if you're working in the business world. Pretty much everything in business or institutional areas is on English United States, even in Canada. No offense, Canadians. As you know, if you read a little bit of my bio, if you have me as an instructor, I am a dual citizen. I'm also American, but I immigrated here. I love this country. I love Canada. So enough about that. Let's get into the week 2 case. So as soon as you go and check out what you're doing that week, you can jump right over to Sam. You've saved your login and password from last week. And I'm not going to do this every week where I spend a little time. Like each week, we'll get right to the case quicker and quicker. If you haven't purchased your key code yet, it will ask you to keep doing that until you put it in. And once your 14 days run out, you can't get back in, and you should not create another account. You just need to go and buy it. And that's all been covered in the previous videos. It's all linked up in FOL. So I'm going to enter later, which means it should take me right to my activity list. And I am going to jump into the week 2 case right away. I will have a separate video in week 2 because this is our first week using the SAM quizzing environment and the training. I will have a separate video explaining how that works and how you can use the training to make sure you do okay on the quiz. And the quizzes are pass-fail. You only have to get a 70 to get through them. You can take them as many times as you want before the deadline, of course. The training is not required. You only have to do the training. Well, you don't have to do the training. I just said it's not required. You would only really need to or want to do the training or use it if you can't get through some of the steps on the quiz. So the quizzes will always mostly resemble the stuff you learn in the cases, but sometimes in a bit of a different way. I'll talk more about it in the second video in week 2. But be aware that these are in the hopper now and ready to go. And you will have that extra 1% every week by completing the quiz. If you can't get the quiz up to a 70%, which is your passing threshold, the training gives you the answers. The cases, of course, I will give you the answers via these videos every week by completing every step with you in the video. So we learned all this stuff last week. I'm not going to beat it to death and harp on the fact that you have to pay attention to where the files are saved. I covered this extensively last week. So if you're struggling with the file management aspect of this and you need to brush up on your skills, you might want to go back to the week 1 videos. But I'm going to grab this. And as you know from last week, most of you, if you haven't changed your browser settings, it will just automatically throw it into downloads. I have mine set to ask me where I want to save it. I'm going to put mine in downloads anyway, just to be more like probably how your computers are. I'm downloading this one right now. And per the first instruction, in every case you're going to do this semester in SAM, you are to change the file name for the start file. And it is a little bit misleading that well, it's not misleading. That's what they're telling you to do. In the instructions at the beginning of every case, it says, open the file up and save as. As I explained last week, there are lots of reasons I'd rather you didn't do this, mainly because I don't want you to have multiple versions of the file. So I would prefer, click Enable Editing like we learned last week. I would prefer you simply take the file and rename the file by changing the 1 at the end of it to a 2. And as always, I'm reminding you that, you may or may not see the file extension at the end, but as long as you see the Excel icon there, you know it is an Excel file and it's ready to be used in Excel. So when I open this up, I can right click, I can rename. Hello, computer. Change the 1 to a 2. That is it, not to a 12. Notice how I'm not messing with the extension. On my computer, I can actually see the extension. On yours, you may not see it, but you do not type it back in and add it in. As long as you see the little Excel icon there that I'm hovering over with my mouse, you know that it's an Excel file. Once the file opens up, confirm that your name is in the documentation sheet. That's just the preview. Jeez, come on. I think I need to restart my machine. I have a really good computer from the college. I'm not sure what's taking it so long. And these are not little, sometimes I go back and edit videos. I'm not going to go and edit a video just because the file took longer to open. So let's go look at the steps here and what we're doing. Jennifer Williams is a manager at Bergamot Urgent Care Clinic. She's formatting a workbook to basically make it prettier, make it easier to interpret. That's a cool new word I just made up. Interpret. Make it easier to follow through, to kind of find what you need to find. Lots of cool formatting in here, some of which you've done, some of which you may not have done. I'm going to make a statement here at the beginning. The cases will always expose you to a menu where you can do lots of different formatting. For example, and I see it right here in Word too, you have all these different format styles. When we flip over to Excel, and I love using Alt-Tab to go back and forth more easily. Command-Tab on a Mac. Nice way to do that. Enable editing. Just like last week, we only have the documentation sheet and one other worksheet. And we're going to go in here and start formatting the heck out of this thing. If you go into the Styles menu area of the ribbon, and you click this to drop it down, you can see there's all sorts of different stuff in here and different colors and whatever. And you can even make up your own cell style. You can make a custom cell style. We will, in the case, show you a few different examples of this. And then when you get to the quiz, it might ask you to do different types of stuff from the same menu. So the quizzes are not meant to stump you up and wreck your life. They're actually, the answers are in the training, so they're not too bad. But again, I'm going to have a separate video on the SAM quizzing environment in week 2. And then most weeks after this, we'll just have the one video. So let's bounce back to the instructions. We are going to change the theme of the workbook. Now, you could have done this from the documentation sheet. That is a global thing across an entire file. And remember that an Excel file is called a workbook, all the worksheets in it. So technically, I should have done that from here, but that's not something SAM is ever going to mark wrong because they're not going to know where you did it from as long as you did it. So right off the bat from this case, we are going to leave the Home tab. And where would you guys guess that we'd be going to change the way things look? Probably page layout. And right at the beginning of page layout, we have the option to choose different themes. Both Mac and PC, you should have the theme available there that you're asking for. And they want you to choose the Office theme. So when I did that, you could see that some of this stuff changed slightly. It's just an overall color and font style type of theme that workbooks have. Most people don't bother even ever looking into this, but it is a way to keep things consistent. It's a really nice way to do that. So you have all these different color schemes and font collections and stuff, and it's vapor trail. Neat. See, and it changes the bars in the graph. Just that's part of that theme. But we are to be on the Office theme for this particular step. And that would be the end of step 1, change the theme to Office. So lots of people have used Excel a lot. That wasn't a pun, but it kind of came out to be a funny one. Lots of people use Excel a lot and don't even know that you can change workbook themes. So that's a cool step. Next, we're going to switch to the visits worksheet, which we already did. And then we're going to format the headings. Merge and center the range A1 to H1. So we talked about this at the beginning of the first case. Merge and center is where you have like an area within a worksheet where you want a title to be kind of sitting right above it. And it's hard to do that. Like I'm going to stick it in D and then I'm going to make D a little bigger, a little smaller. What you can do is put it in the first cell in the area where you want to center over and then highlight through. And this is a very simple button. It's available on the Home tab. It's merge and center. I'm sure there's a keyboard shortcut for that too. I've actually never looked that up. I usually just pull it right off the Home tab. A1 to H. So H1, merge and center, done. You want to unmerge and center, click it again. Okay, and there's some options when you drop into the drop down. You can unmerge, you can merge across, you can merge up and down. It's the easiest method is just to get the cells that you want to merge and center and just click the button. So on the quiz, for example, it might ask you to do a variation of that, but from the same menu. So that step wasn't too bad. Unlike the face-to-face delivery of this, I don't go that slowly. I'm trying not to make the videos longer than they need to be because I do add a lot of extra tips and tricks to some of the basic steps. So I'm going to go fairly quickly here. Well, I think it's quick, but if you ever need to see anything again, you just stop the video, pull it back a bit, and watch it again. No problem. I'm talking a lot more about this in the first couple weeks because you're just getting used to this asynchronous delivery of this course for Comp 3077. So apply the heading 1 style to that range that you just merged and centered. So sitting on that same cell, just sitting on it, I'm going to go into this style section that I was kind of exploring at the beginning of the case there. And I'm going to go heading 1. That's it. Click on it, done. And then you've got this pre-formatted, you got a font color, you got a font size, you got a font type, you got a bottom border, all done at once by choosing a cell style. This is something that came out, I believe it started to become more prevalent in Microsoft with 2010, and then it got better in 2013, got better in 2016, and now with 2019, it's really streamlined. And yeah, and same as 2021 and 365. All of those are kind of applicable in this course. Merge and center A2 over to H. A2 to H2. So patient visits, merge and center, click. Next, Jennifer needs to format the report dates. So they didn't, oh, there, wait, no, yeah, they didn't have any formatting on A2, the merge cell. They're going right past it. So format the report dates. Change the background color of the range A4 to B5 to gray, accent 3, lighter 80%. So they even give you like exactly where it should be. Now, if you get to step 5 and you're like, hey, weird, I don't have this color collection or this particular setup for a color, it's probably because you didn't do this in step 1. Because the colors you're offered when it comes to accent colors, they're going to be different for every theme you put onto an Excel workbook. So I know I did the office theme. So when I get to step 5, first I'm going to highlight the right cells, A4 to B5. Oops, went over a little too far there. Go there. So A4 over to B down to 5. It's just those 4 cells. Remember, you can use the name box and type a range in there and it would highlight it for you. Same thing. And I want to change the background, which is the paint can. Obviously, the letter is the font color. This is the background color. These are things I don't need to go too crazy with because you should be pretty comfortable with this. Having used Microsoft Word and PowerPoint as much as you probably have at this point in your academic career at Fanshawe. So we're going to go into the drop down and we see theme colors. So those are coming from the Office theme. So they want gray. And usually you can figure out just by looking at it, probably this one here is gray. That's light gray. That's white background, light gray. There, that one, there, gray. And it did tell you 7th column, so I should have just jumped right over there. So gray accent 3, lighter 80%. So go with those cells highlighted, gray, accent 3, and go down here until you get to 80. That's the one right below it. And they did tell you exactly where to go with it. So it's just getting you to explore a little more of the color palette by using the theme colors. Format the same range, which is still highlighted for bold, and you should know Control B on the keyboard is bold, same as Microsoft Word right here, same button. That's done. You didn't get to see my click enhancement in the video because I did the keyboard shortcut. Format B4 to B5, so just these 2 cells, to use a date format with 2-digit month, 2-digit day, and a 2-digit year. So if you don't see this automatically offered, we're going to then show you how to do it customized, like however you want. I think that will be one of the go-to options. So B4 and B5. So just highlight those 2. And you see that this shows date, right? So I can see date. I have a short date and I have a long date. Those are my only options for a cell that's formatted like a date. So click out of it and go into here. So you won't always get exactly what you want from the ribbon. And knowing that you can still go in here just like you could way back in the 90s versions of Excel, even before that, there you will get all kinds of options. So you probably won't have to do a custom format for this. It'll probably be in there. So 2-digit, month and day, then year. That's formatted a little more American, but that's fine. It should be there. What was it? Day first? Month first, then day. So there. Okay, so month first, then the day, then the year. Okay, that should be the format that we're looking for. And you might have some different options in here. So what you need to do is just make sure that you have the right options available to get this correct. Now, I think Sam would mark that right. I'm pretty sure, but there's something I've mentioned now in two different videos, which is that you should be on English United States. And if you use the drop down here, you should be able to get to that option right here. Okay. So by choosing English United States, it's there. It's kind of the same, but this is how I would do this to get this question correct and not have to resubmit. I wouldn't second guess whether or not it would have worked in the Canadian English version. I'm sure it probably would have worked there too, but I know this is going to work. So that's exactly how the step said it should look. So if you did it the other way, I'm just going to try that just for the sake of helping you guys at home, because you may not have the same settings. Let's go back to English Canada. That's cool that you can do that without changing your entire system settings. It's funny that Excel, my system is set to English United States, but Excel is probably aware based on my logging in. There's a lot of connectivity now that I'm in Canada. I don't know for sure that it is, but it chose that as a default. Now, if I go to English Canada, the options for English Canada are now up, and I wanted 2-digit month first, then day, then year. So that would be, oh no, no, that's not right. So I'm glad that came up, because when I first did this in the summer, I didn't even pick up on that. It's so you do need to switch that to United States in order to get the right option. Just going down, making sure there isn't an option to even get there. Yeah, see, it's doing it more European. And I think Sam will mark that wrong. You know what? I'm going to leave it that way and see what happens, because I always like to get like at least one thing wrong, so I can, especially in the first few weeks, just to show you guys how to fix it. But for those of you at home that are seeing what's happening here, Sam is a computer, and it grades everything like a computer. It's either 100% right or it's wrong. They gave you a specific sequence for the month, the day, and the year. Actually, in the other order, it should be day, month, year. And that's how you want it to be. So if you switch to the United States, you would then have that option. Where'd it go? There. Oh, I'm already on it. Right there. But like I said, and I keep switching back and forth. I'm sorry I keep doing this. I want to do it the other way with the same quantity of digits, but for Canada, to see if Sam's sensitivity has been toned down a little bit for you to still get that right. Because in Canada, that is how most people do it. But as I commented earlier in this video, when you're working in systems and software on computers, the standard protocol in an English-speaking country is English United States. So we beat that one to death. Let's keep moving here. She also wants to format table headings, format A7 to H8 as italics. So we're going to go A7 over to H8, italic. I could have done Control I, same thing. And A7 to H8, that's right. Always check your ranges. Apply horizontal centering to the contents of cell, same range. So it's already highlighted, which is cool. Okay, this is center, right? Okay, that's just centering. This is actually vertical centering, which is kind of cool. That's not what they said to do. I'm just showing you that that's available. So horizontal centering is just the standard center that you're aware of, and same as Microsoft Word. So centering, that's done. Change the background color of the range A7 to H7 to orange accent 2 lighter 60%. And they give you the columns and everything. So these are kind of a cool series of steps. I can keep the same range highlighted for all three of them. And I'm going to go here, background color, 6th row, 60%, which is 3 down. There we go. Click it, and that's done. Kind of a pumpkin, cool looking color. Actually, I like that. I like orange. I like green a lot too. Change the, I don't know why I'm telling you guys all this stuff. So just unloading my personal life on you in an Excel lecture. I love green and orange. Change the background color of the ranges B8 to D8 and F8 to H8. So these are two separate ranges to orange accent to 40%. Now, you could do the B8 to D8 and then finish it and then do the F8 to H8, and that would be no problem at all, and Sam would mark that right. Of course, I'm going to show you the better way to do it, which is to highlight the first range. Actually, I'm going to show you a couple ways. So what was it? B8 to H8? Was that right? No, B8 to D8. B8 to D8. Okay, so we're just, that was weird. Why would they have us? Oh, I messed up. You guys should have caught me there. Yeah, that's all right. This happens in my live lectures too. I would typically go back and fix this, but I think it's okay. It's week 2. I like for this to happen once in a while. You got it. What did I just say before that step? Always pay attention to your ranges. And I got all excited because I'm like, hey, you can leave the same range highlighted for all 3 of these steps. You actually can't. If I was paying more attention to what I was reading, I would see that only this was supposed to have the color. So we learned last week how to clear different things. I know you can clear formats, but can you clear just colors? No. So just change it back to white. That's fine. Just change it back to white, which is the standard background, and then move on to the next step. You don't have to go back and undo it. So I knew something was up when I was in that row and there was already an orange color in there. So B8 to D8, B8 to D8, I can highlight it or I can type it right into the name box. And that's that. And then F8 to H8. So as soon as I go and I highlight F8 to AH, either F8 to H8, either in the name box or not in the name box, it's going to unhighlight the other one. So what you can do, there's 2 different ways you can do this. You can just do the steps separately. The steps. Did you hear what I said? That was awesome. You can do the steps separately. Oh man, I love leaving stuff like this in my videos. Hey, I still haven't sworn yet. I made it a rule not to swear in my videos this most recent version of this course. So we'll see if I can pull it off. So instead of doing these 2 steps separately, you can highlight the first one, then let go. I'm off the mouse, I'm off everything. Hold down the control key on your keyboard, use the mouse and highlight the second one, and the first one will stay highlighted. You can do it that way. Another cool thing you can do, you can put the first range in, which is B8 to D8, okay, and then it's like that. If you put in B8 to D8, comma, F8 to H8, it will highlight both. That's the same as using the control key. There's one of those little things that people just don't know you can do. And then you can keep highlighting multiple ranges. You could type it all out and just put it right into the name box, because it's really easy to slip your mouse up when you're highlighting a bunch of stuff using the control key and then have to go back and start over again. And this was to be the orange 40%. That was it, 40%. Should be like that. And you can always scroll down and take a look and make sure yours is kind of, yep, that's right. Interesting. H7 to H7. Change the background color. This is interesting. Like, I don't know. I'm sure it's something. You know what? I'm glad that happened too. I always tell you guys that I do include the pictures, so you can go ahead and look at. I'm noticing that, wow, that looks weird that the orange is in the lower row. And then as I look at that more, without even looking ahead at the steps, I realize there's some merging and centering here vertically. And guess what the next step's going to be? So this is going to be merged and centered vertically so that you have that orange in there. So merge and center A7 to A8. Then center the contents of the merge cell vertically. So go figure. Go here, merge and center. It will know to do it down. which drops the text right to the bottom of this big tall cell now, in which case you can go here and center vertically. Same thing right here. Nice little formatting tricks that people just don't do enough of. So that was step 12, and then step 13. And then for step 14, we're going to merge and center B7 to D7, and then merge and center F7 to H7. Now, you can't do this separately. You can't do this together. You can't merge and center separate things together. So you do have to do this separately. You can't do this separately. You do. So B7, always just do what I'm doing. Stop listening to all my talking. I'm all over the place here, but not really. Merge and center the range B7 to D7. So B7 to D7. Oh, yeah, of course. Merge and center. And then F7 to H7. Merge and center. That looks a lot better. I like that. Number 15. Jennifer would like to spruce up the table data. Data, whatever we want to say. I like data. Data's that guy from Star Trek. You guys weren't born when that came out. Change the background color of the range A10 to H10 to white background 1, darker 5%. And then repeat it for H12 to A12 to H12. So this is one you can do together. So A10 to H10. I love the name box. Comma. A12 to H12. Enter. Both ranges are highlighted. We're just mixing it up a bit so it doesn't look so homogeneous. And I'm going to go in here and I'm going to use white background. What was it again? White background 1, darker 5%. So white background 1. It's right there. Little bit of a nice gray shade, like a dark white. Looks pretty close to that gray up here. It's not the same though. In the range F9 to H12, apply the percentage number format with 0 decimal places. So we have lots of go-to number formats. This is accounting, even though it's the currency symbol. And you'll see right away there are different versions of accounting that shift the indent and the placement of the number within the cell ever so slightly. And SAM cases through the 2016 version of SAM constantly had the accounting format in cases and on tests, and students kept getting it wrong because they never changed their language settings. So this time around, even though I'm trying to remind everybody to set their language settings correctly to English US, we are going to use formattings. Yeah, that's right, formattings. We're going to use formatting settings that aren't so sensitive to language settings, like this, like percentage. So we are going to use percentage for F9 to H12. So F9 over to H, down to 12. All these are going to become percent. And you can use the shortcut right there on the toolbar. And the shortcut there is for accounting format. If you want to use straight up currency, which just has the currency symbol aligned all the way to the left with the number, accounting has the number kind of more separated, you would do that from here. So currency and accounting are not the same thing. I'm just bringing some of this stuff up just so you're aware of the other number formats. You want a couple decimal places? Use the decimal button. That's decrease, sorry. Increase by 2. So we've got that with 0, format with 0 decimal places. Of course, I was just showing you that. We are not going to add any decimal places. I was just showing you that you could, but you should leave it set to 0 because that's what Sam wants. We're about halfway through here, maybe a little more. I'm going to Control S because that's a good habit to get into, and I keep forgetting to do that. I forgot to do that the entire case last week. Always be saving. Use highlight cell rows. So conditional formatting, one of my favorite things in Excel, and it's so easy to do. So conditional formatting is something that you can set in cells that you won't even see until data is put into that cell that triggers the formatting. And it basically highlights things in certain sets of data to stand out for one reason or another. You can do less than this, greater than this, contains this, and it will just highlight it for you. So we're going to have this on a bunch of cases, including this one. So let's check this out. So use the highlight cell rules conditional formatting to format G9 through G12. So just like when you're changing the color, you can highlight the cells to begin with, G9 to G12. So we don't need to use the name box every time. Let's go G9 to G12. And within this range, we're going to draw attention to anything that's less than 6%. It's like, hey, come on, man, get some more cash on hand, right? So conditional formatting, highlight cell rules. Now, you might be asked on the quiz to do some different stuff here. I love this tool. And we're going to go to less than. So highlight cell rules, less than 6%. And it knew that. That's interesting that it knew that. Typically this would be blank and you would put in 6%. It might have been, you know what? It's probably because I did this case in the summer and it's remembering stuff. But it did know that I wanted to do 6%. Stop reading my mind, Excel. You're freaking me out. And here you have some go-to sort of default options, plus you can customize it. In this particular step, they want you to use light red fill with dark red text, which is the default. So they're not making you overthink it. You're just trying out conditional formatting for the first time. Maybe you've used it before. I think it's a great tool. And let's move on to the next step. Save your file. Why not? Control S. You can save it up here too. For the merged range, A17 to A23, rotate the cell contents to 0 degrees and then change the indent to 2, which means you do 2 indents. You just click it twice. So A17 to A23. So A17. Oh, I see. They did a cool rotate there, but it didn't really work out. So you're going to change it back to 0. So this is the rotate button on the home tab. And you will go, it's not an option. Okay, so if it's not an option, click the dialog box like we did before, and under the alignment for rotate, you can change 45 to 0. I always do that. I always think that's a default option. And then the second I see that it's not, anytime, this is a great lesson that I did that. I might have done that on purpose. Anytime you go into Excel, and you go into the drop-down menus, like the quick access menus on the ribbon, and you don't see what you want, go into that same menu and use the expand arrow to pull up all the stuff. And this looks more like old school Excel with the tabs. You can get to all the different places. And in there, under orientation, you can definitely do it at 0 degrees. So that is done. Then in addition to that, we are going to indent it twice. So the indent buttons are here. That's decrease indent. That's increase indent. Click it 2 times. Done. Twice. That's 2. Find and replace. You've likely used this before. I use this a lot with some of my, I often get asked, I think I mentioned in my earlier lectures, I do a little bit of real estate on the side. I have people that know me in my small town. They often ask for valuations, like an opinion of value, not like an appraisal, but so, and I don't go out of my way to have to rewrite these over and over again. So a lot of times I use find and replace to just replace the address, and then I go back and fix the data and stuff. So it comes up quite a bit, find and replace. So you're going to find and replace all instances of ins with insurance. Oh, so somebody was apparently a little bit lazy. They didn't want to type out the word insurance. So make sure when you do this, you don't have a specific set of cells highlighted. If you have more than one cell highlighted, it will only look for that and replace it in that range that you have highlighted. If you just have your mouse sitting wherever in one cell, no problem. So I'm going to go over here, same place it is in Microsoft Word. Remember, like I showed you last week, if you have different resolution than me, it's very possible your ribbon may look a little different than mine because it consolidates menu items. It kind of squishes them together to fit the screen. I have pretty good resolution on this machine, so mine's kind of big, but we're going to replace INS with INS, and it will do capitals and everything. So I can do that. I go replace all, and it says we replaced 2 of those, and I can close. That should be good. That's another thing that Excel doesn't care if you escape, hit the X, whatever. But when you get into the environment that Sam has made you for Excel in the quizzes, and it tells you to hit close when you're done, If you hit the X instead, it'll mark you wrong. You're going to get used to this in the first couple weeks of the SAM quizzes. It's all good. So almost done here. Finally, she needs to format the workbook for printing. Insert a page break to start a new page at row 14. So we're going to go to row 14. And from there, we're going to insert, I think it's down here too. No, that's page break preview. So from there, under page layout, sorry, not insert. That's kind of a common mistake people make. Even I just did it. It might be somewhere in the insert menu. A lot of these things are in like a bunch of different places. I don't believe page layout is anywhere other than, or sorry, page break is anywhere other than page layout. Under breaks, insert page break. And you now have a page break right on top of 14. So it will always put it right above the row you're sitting in. You don't highlight the row. You just have to be sitting in it. You could have been sitting over here, actually, and it would have put the page break in the same place. You just had to sit in row 14. And set margins to narrow. No problem. That's also a page layout setting, same as Word. Margins narrow, that's a default setting. You can obviously go custom, same as Word down there. Okay, so set rows 1 and 2 as print titles. Let's jump back over there. So you don't have to sit on these and highlight them here. From the same area of the menu where you did breaks, you're going to go to print titles and margins as well. And from print titles, you're going to go in here. Do not mess with what's going on up here. That's the print area that's printing pretty much everywhere where there is content. You go into this dialog box first, and then when you're in there, you highlight the entirety of the 2 rows by going through the 2 column numbers, and then rows 1 and 2 will repeat at top every time you print. If the content spills down onto another page, you'll have those rows on both pages that print. So again, you don't highlight them first. You go to print titles. You got to be sitting in the rows to repeat. Then you click OK. And from there, we are almost done. Create a custom footer. So headers and footers are pretty much the same as Microsoft Word. And you just need to be very careful about what you put in there. This is going to use some of the auto completion options that Excel offers, so you can't get typos, which is kind of nice. So it says create a custom footer for the worksheet. So we are going to go back here, and under page layout, I'm not seeing that. If you go to the insert menu, you will have header footer over here. That's the easiest place to find it. So we're going to go to header footer, and it's going to start you in the header. But once you do that, it takes the view of what you're working in and changes it to header footer view. So you can just go and switch to footer right here in the same view. So see that? Go to header, go to footer, and down in the footer, in which section of the footer? In the left section. So left section of the footer, we are going to display the current page number using a header footer element option. So in the center footer section, display the sheet name, and using the header and footer elements. So left side. I'm already forgetting this. Page number. So right here, you don't type it in. You choose page number. In the center section, you choose sheet name. See that? You don't have to type it in. It's pretty cool, actually. And that's the best way to kind of get the stuff automatically put in there, and then it kind of spreads throughout the workbook if you set it up that way. And that is the end of the case. If you go down here, you can kind of check your stuff. It doesn't show it to you in header footer view, so it assumes you put that in there. Everything looks pretty much right. Remember, I'm testing out those dates to see how sensitive this version of SAM actually is, because that isn't, if I click back in the normal view, that isn't the date, the order in which they asked you for the date elements. So we're going to see how it goes with that. If you do want to switch back to normal view, you can go here and go to normal view, and that's fine. And your header footers will still be in there. If you go to page layout, you can see the header footer view again. See visits. All right, so close your file. Automatically prompts you to save it. I did save it a few times there throughout, but if I remember to close it, it's automatically going to save. Go back to SAM, right here. Grab your file from whatever folder you put it in. You should only have one version of it. It should be named correctly. Mine is in downloads. It is right here. It didn't have any issues with the file name. I submit, and now I can get my grade report. So now is the moment of truth. Do I have to make those adjustments to the language settings to find out? And this is kind of a sneaky way for me to get you guys to watch the whole lecture, although you can easily fast forward right to the end and find out if it worked or not. But I'm hoping you sat around and watched the whole thing with me going through it with you. Come on, let's do it. Wow, what is that? Okay. I really need to restart. So I did get a deduction, and it was for the, set margins to narrow. Oh, the visits worksheet should have narrow margins. Could have sworn I did that. That's okay. This is why we have 2 submissions. So every week, if you don't get the 100%, you go back and you fix it. Now I was expecting to fix this. I'm a little surprised I got something. Usually when that happens to me in the later weeks, I will re-record that step that I did incorrectly so the entire video shows it to you at 100%. I'm pretty sure I did that. I must have hit undo by accident or something. I don't remember that. So you always go back to the original file when you're going to go do a resubmission, which we're going to do right now. So I can close that. I already know what it says I did wrong. So I'm going to go into downloads, and I'm going to grab the original file I submitted, and I'm going to make these fixes in that file and submit again for 100%. So now we all know it's not going to work if you leave the Canadian settings the same way. And I kind of thought that might be the case, but when I did it in the summer, I had it set to US automatically. I didn't bother trying to fiddle around with it. I just wanted to see. So we're going to go to these. We're going to go to the pull-out box, and we're going to go English United States. And with English United States, we will then do, yeah, that's right. So that's fixed. Save your file. Now, page layout. Huh. I know I went through and did that step. Maybe, I think I was screwing around right after that. I might have undone something, and it might have undone that as well. Just check and see that it's definitely done now. Close file, save changes. Like I said, most of the time in any later week where I actually miss a step that is not on purpose, like I did with the dates, I will fix that in the video and submit it so it's perfect. I know I did that earlier in the video, so you know what? This is good. It teaches you guys that sometimes, you slip up. I think I was undoing something because I had paused the video for a second and I was looking at something else. You guys don't know when I'm doing that because you can't see me pausing, but submit. And this one should be 100%. So let's save it. And let's open it up. A little bit faster that time because I actually paused it while the file was trying to open. I definitely did undo the narrow margin setting I set, or possibly, and you may have noticed this in the video, and I'm not going to see till I go back and look, I might have opened it up and not clicked on it because, I am lecturing this as I'm doing it. Mistakes do happen, but for the most part, in the first couple weeks, I do like the mistakes to happen so I can remind you guys that you should go back and fix them and get the 100%. From this week forward, you will just see me getting 100% every single week. And whether or not I actually got 100% without having to go back and kind of edit the video, you'll never, ever know. So that's the fun of being the prof. And that's the process. You're going to go through each week in this course. And once you get 100%, now, starting in week 2, you're going to move on to the SAM quiz. And there's, in the activity list, always ignore the calendar. We talked about that last week. And there's a separate video for the quizzing environment and how to best tackle that and get your 70% once you're done with the case. And again, see how the case is gone now from the activity list? Once you do your 2 submissions, it does disappear. So that wraps up our full case demonstration for week 2 and everything we've covered. And now we are going to jump into this in a second week 2 video, which you will find right below this one in the virtual classroom. I will see you there.